So, I've already discussed what the top 10 bestest songs of all the years from 2000 to 2006 are. As you can guess, now it's time to talk about the top 10 bestest songs of 1962. No, I'm kidding. This is the top 10 bestest songs of 2007, and this is a pretty significant year in the series. 2007 was the year I turned 8 years old, and is also the year I started getting into contemporary mainstream music. Before this point, most of the songs I listened to were either songs and cartoons I watched like VeggieTales, The Backyardigans, or music my parents played. I'm sure I did catch an occasional mainstream song on the radio before this point, but I didn't start paying attention to contemporary pop songs until 2007. I did promise that I would tell the story of how I got into music in this series. I've actually never told this story on my channel before, so let me tell you about how my interest in music began. Well, it all started in the summer of 2007, when my brother introduced me to a little online game known as Club Penguin. Those of you who worked online in the mid to late 2000s to mid 2010s might not even know what Club Penguin was. It's one of those 2000s internet phenomena that, like Salad Fingers, or Rage Faces, or The Impossible Quiz, or Chocolate Rain, you have to have been around back then to remember and have nostalgia for. Club Penguin was a massive part of my childhood, and I logged into it pretty much every day from 2007 to around early 2011. There are a lot of stories I can tell about my memories of playing Club Penguin as a kid, or the various Club Penguin blogs I read, or Club Penguin videos I watched. If you are interested in hearing about those stories, as well as some ideas that Kid Me came up with for a fictional Club Penguin animated series, go check out my talk with Chris Hendricks, aka Screenhog, one of the developers of Club Penguin, which I'm actually uploading the same day as this video. After you're done watching this video, go check that out. Or pause this video, go watch it, and come back. It doesn't really matter which one you watch first. Anyway, like I said, I did watch various Club Penguin videos in the late 2000s after searching for Club Penguin on YouTube. And one type of Club Penguin videos I watched were Club Penguin music videos, or CPMVs. Basically, these were videos that showed screen capture footage or screenshots of someone's penguin saying the lyrics to a song in the chat, synced to the song actually playing in the video. And, well, most of the songs that people made CPMVs for were then modern pop songs. A few of the songs I've already talked about in this series were songs I first heard through CPMVs, and the same is true with a couple more songs that we talk about in the series. Heck, I first discovered Avril Lavigne, my childhood favorite artist, through a CPMV of the song Girlfriend. If you're interested in checking any of these out, I've actually put together a Google Sheet compiling nearly every Club Penguin music video I was able to find on YouTube today, and I'm actually still adding to it as I speak. Link to this sheet is in the description. I will admit that I no longer like a few of the songs I discovered through CPMVs like Fergie's London Bridge, 8-year-old Simeon didn't have very good taste in media, but I still have to thank these Club Penguin music videos for getting me into music and helping to define one of my current interests. And let's talk about that current interest, pertaining to the best hit songs of 2007. Reminders as always, only the songs that debuted on the 2007 year-end list are eligible, meaning that any songs not on that list, nor these 9 songs that also made the 2006 list, are disqualified. As awesome as How to Save a Life, Chasing Cars, and Waiting on the World to Change are, I already praised them in the last video. Speaking of which, go watch my previous best and worst hit songs videos, especially those in this top 10 bestest songs of 2019 series, to avoid any more spoilers for songs I talked about there. I will not be doing a top 10 worst hit songs of 2007 video, but if you are curious as to what songs would make that list, here you go. Finally, this list is just my opinion. Don't get upset at me if you disagree with my picks for the list or their order. Let me know in the comments what your favorite hit songs of 2007 are. Okay, enough introduction. Let's discuss the top 10 bestest songs of 2007, starting with number 10. Starting this list off, we have one of 2 hip-hop songs on the 2007 year-end list that I ended up being pleasantly surprised by. Runaway Love by Ludacris featuring Mary J. Blige. It's always nice when I can praise a hip-hop song in a best hit songs list, given my distaste for most mainstream hip-hop, as you just saw with my worst hit songs of 2007 list a minute ago. Structurally, Runaway Love is very similar to Everlast What It's Like, and it's a song with 3 verses, each telling a story revolving around a different character, all with a common theme. Except Runaway Love goes into some very dark topics. The first verse is about a 9-year-old girl named Lisa, who is a brutal home life. She's never met her father, and her mother's a drug addict. Her mother also brings home men at different hours of the night, and when she's unconscious, the men sneak into Lisa's room and sexually assault her. And when she tries to tell her mother doesn't believe her. The second verse is about a 10-year-old girl named Nicole, who's self-conscious about her appearance, only made worse by the fact that her stepfather is an alcoholic and abusive. The only person she can really trust is her best friend Stacy, who becomes her confidant and friend at the end. At least until Stacy is killed in a drive-by shooting. And the third verse is about an 11-year-old girl named Erica who's taking drugs and having unprotected sex with her 16-year-old boyfriend. Yikes, that's an uncomfortable age gap. She ends up becoming pregnant by him, and her boyfriend abandons her because he's not ready to be a father. She knows her mother will freak out if she finds out, plus she's poor, so she can't afford an abortion. And at the end of all 3 verses, each girl decides to get some clothes, pack up, and run away from home. This dark, lyrical subject matter is juxtaposed with some light, bouncy R&B production and Mary J. Blige's soulful chorus. It honestly doesn't feel feel like a song Ludacris would perform. It sounds nothing like his two features I've already talked about in this series. Plus, Ludacris has made some outright bad songs, including several appearances on my worst hit songs of the year for the 2000s. But yet he managed to make a genuinely great song here. It's not perfect, the outro's a bit too long, and there are some forced rhymes like pain with 16 on the third verse. However, it's a song that can certainly hit hard depending on your upbringing, although it wasn't even the best hip-hop song to be a hit in 2007, but more on that later.
You can stand under my umbrella. You can stand under my umbrella.
Remember when I said earlier that a few of the songs discussed in this series I first heard through watching Club Penguin music videos? Well, this is another one. And yeah, like a lot of the songs I discussed in the 2006 list, nostalgia is definitely a factor in this song's placement on this list too. Rihanna's music has always been a mixed bag in terms of quality, but I can safely say that Umbrella is one of her good songs and a good contender for her best ever hit as a lead artist. It's a really great upbeat pop song with elements of R&B and hip-hop thanks to that rap verse by Jay-Z that starts off the song, which is quite unusual for a pop song. Usually the rap verse is on the bridge, the hi-hat drums, and infectious melody. It's definitely a song that you can sing along to, especially in the chorus. That "under my umbrella, Ella, Ella" bit is definitely the kind of lyric that's sure to stick in people's heads and define one's career. And the lyrics, while nothing too special, are pretty good on their own. It's a song about always being there for your partner, sticking it out with them to the end, and knowing that the two of you will always have each other, even when it's pouring rain. Your partner can stand under your umbrella with you. Nothing will ever get between the two of you. So let the rain pour. The two of you will be safe and dry together under your umbrella, no matter what happens. It's a really nice sentiment for a pop love song. Also, it's hard to explain, but something about the song's interpretation also gives me the feeling of rain. Unlike many rainy day songs though, it's not a ballad. It's upbeat, but gives me the feeling of wanting to dance around the rain outside. I don't know if the producers were going for that vibe exactly, but I think it fits it perfectly. I'm not the kind of person who likes to be outside in the rain, but if there is any song that makes me want to don a raincoat and boots and splash outside in the rain holding an umbrella, it's definitely this song. I also like how the song has a fade out ending. You don't hear too many songs nowadays that have fade out endings, although it's not the only song on this list to have a fade out ending. All in all, Umbrella is a really great pop song and one of Rihanna's absolute best. No wonder many people consider it to be her signature song. It may not have been her first single to hit number 1 on the Hot 100, but it was her first to almost hit number 1 on a year-end list. Shame it was just blocked out by one spot, and I'd definitely be remiss to not put it somewhere on this list too. Awesome song. Wouldn't it have been funny if this had been number 1 on this list given the song's title? Whatever. It's definitely not my first time talking about a Lifehouse song in this series, it's my third time, and this is hands down the band's catchiest hit song. Not their best hit song, that honor belongs to 2005's You and Me, but definitely their catchiest. It's a year-end hit of this band that I can sing along to and rock out to the most. Yeah, even more than Hanging by a Moment. The melody's even more sticky, fitting with yet another upbeat mainstream rock sound. I'll admit Jason Wade's voice isn't the absolute best fit here. It is a bit too raspy for a song with this sound in my opinion, especially when he belts on the chorus, but I don't think it's too much of a detriment. The awesome rocking guitars definitely make up for it though, as do the lyrics. Like the two previous hits, First Time is another love song. It may not have the same wedding song feeling of You and Me, but it's still a decently written song. It does remind me a bit of Hanging by a Moment, since it's another song about having that feeling of wanting something and taking a chance on a potential partner. It's not quite the same song as that one lyrically though. It's a lot more straightforward of a love song, with the first verse explaining how the protagonist and their partner were both looking for something they were afraid to find. The protagonist feels anxious as they look at their partner, but they swallow their fear and take their chance on each other. They feel alive all over again. They feel right belonging with each other tonight. And both the protagonist and the partner express how feeling in love like they are makes it feel like the first time. It's not clear if the two of them are first-time partners, but either way, the feelings they feel for each other are strong, and they must feel pretty glad they didn't chicken out and let the butterflies take over them. The feeling of first entering into a relationship and having that rush of romantic feelings is just wonderful. And even though they're venturing into the unknown together, they still feel home. Honestly, there isn't much more I can say about this song. It's just a really great, well put together romantic rocking tune. Maybe it's not quite as lyrically interesting as the band's previous two hits, but it didn't need to be. All three of Lifehouse's hits were great, and although ironically, this was their last time having a year-end hit, it won't be my last time talking about them in this series. Hint hint. Haven't heard this song yet? Go make it your first time.
I try so hard, can't seem to get away from misery.
And here's the other hip-hop song on the 2007 year-end list I was pleasantly surprised by. I always come across at least a couple pleasant surprises listening through every year-end list for these videos, but again, it's always especially great when said pleasant surprise happens to be a hip-hop song, given my thoughts on most mainstream hip-hop, as most of you probably know. This is easily the best hip-hop hit song of 2007. It's also the first Bone Thugs and Harmony song to be a hit in a decade since 1997's Look Into My Eyes. And for the first hit in a decade, and their final year-end hit ever, I'm glad it was this song. There are two things that really make I Tried shine shine and make it a league above most other mainstream hip-hop. Firstly, like the previous hip-hop song I talked about, I Tried leads more into R&B. The piano-backed instrumental is pleasant, and the chorus, sung by Akon, has a really nice melody that gives the song a very light feeling, contrasting with the lyrics. Speaking of the lyrics, they're not nearly as dark as Runaway Love, but they definitely subvert the cliche lyrics typical of a lot of mainstream hip-hop. It's a song about trying to break away from your troubled lifestyle, but finding it incredibly difficult to do so. Instead of being a song solely about being a gangster and hustling like you'd expect, it's a song about how you're trying to get clean and not do that anymore, but it's incredibly difficult. You tried so hard, but you'll always be a victim of these streets. You try to get away, but trouble follows you. In each of the 3 verses, talks about how this lifestyle has harmed you in a different way. The first verse with Crazy Bone is about wanting to start a meaningful relationship, but living in the fast lane and getting cash the way you did has made things too complicated. The second verse from Lazy Bone discusses how you keep running away from the ones who say they love you the most. Your lifestyle has inflicted pain on your family, and you pray to God for help. And the final verse from Wishbone is about how being on the street and doing illicit activities like hustling and gambling has made you unable to secure a legal 9-to-5 job since you don't know how to do any other job. And on the chorus, Akon says he hopes someone will come and rescue him, but until then, he'll be on the street doing what he's doing. It can be difficult for someone who comes from a criminal or gangster lifestyle to clean up and reform themselves, but the struggle is certainly real and it's very relatable. At least they're trying. And I'm definitely glad Bone Thugs and Harmony and Akon tried and succeeded at making one of the best hit songs of the year.
It's not over, 'cause a part of me is dead and in the ground.
Yeah, this is yet another song I'm nostalgic for and was a shoo-in for the list. It's the second song on this list by a rock band, and it won't be the last. It's Not Over is one of 2 songs from Daughtry, the band led by American Idol contestant Chris Daughtry, to make the 2007 year-end list. And yeah, this guy being a finalist on American Idol obviously means he's a fantastic singer. Honestly, I think he would have been a better singer for first time. His voice isn't nearly as raspy as Jason Wade's, and he sounds a lot better when he belts. He never sounds obnoxious, and sounds even better when there's harmonization, most prominently heard on the song's second verse. It may not have quite the same catchy element that First Time had, but Chris Daughtry's better vocal talent combined with the rocking post-grunge sound is what made this song better. You could argue that instrumentally, it doesn't stand out too much from most of the other mainstream rock from around this time. You could easily give the song to Nickelback or Lifehouse, and it wouldn't really feel out of place from either of those bands' discographies. However, the decent guitar line, heavy guitars in the chorus, and guitar solo on the bridge still sound great. Chris Daughtry's belting fits not only with the fact that it's a rocking post-grunge tune, but also with the pleading lyrics. It's a song about trying to start a relationship over again, even though it didn't work out the first time. You'll try to do it right this time around. It's not over. This love is killing you, but this person is the only one. Your life with them means everything, so you won't give up that easily. You can sense that feeling of not being able to move on, and being desperate to stay in love despite things being rocky, no pun intended, in the song's overall sound. There's no guarantee this second attempt to rekindle a failing relationship is going to work, but it still gives you that sense of giving it another go. Despite all the bumps in the road, you still love this person deep down, and you want to do whatever you can to make things work, whether it's to prevent your own loneliness, or for both you and your partner's benefit. You could interpret the song as a married couple being on the edge of divorce, but making one last attempt to stay together, perhaps for the sake of their kids and or their own feelings. Despite how much it may hurt, the protagonist doesn't want this relationship to end deep down. Overall, it's a great song, and even though my time talking about this song is over, my time talking about Daughtry in the series isn't over. Hint, hint.
Keep holding on.
Here's another song that I knew was a shoo-in for this list. I mentioned this before, but Avril Lavigne was my childhood favorite artist, and I know she was destined for more than one appearance in the series. I'm sure 8 to 10-year-old Simeon probably would have put Girlfriend on this list too. I mean, it is a pop-punk banger. That being said though, as an adult examining these songs more critically now, I will admit that as fun as Girlfriend is, it does feel a bit bratty with its presentation and lyrics. Plus that rap verse on the bridge doesn't sound nearly as good as the rest of the song. But if we're talking about the Avril Lavigne song that became a hit in 2007 that truly was top 10 best material, there was no way was it going to be Keep Holding On. Like the previous song on this list, this is another song about holding on to a relationship and staying strong, even when things get tough. Except Keep Holding On isn't about wanting to rekindle a failing relationship. It's a song about being by your partner's side, staying strong together, not giving in, and assuring them that you and them will make it through. You'll fight and defend with them by your side before it's too late. Nothing will change destiny, and whatever's meant to be will work out perfectly in the end. Yeah, this song definitely fits Avril Lavigne a lot better than her brattier, more bubblegum pop-infused sound that we heard from her starting on The Best Damn Thing. That's not to say there aren't any good Avril Lavigne songs on that side of her. Girlfriend was also a contender for this list, but the more heartfelt pop rock ballads of hers are even better in my opinion. The guitars here aren't as loud or hard-hitting as they are in some other Avril Lavigne songs, but I think it works for a softer song like this one. Despite being a song about making it through and fighting and defending, it doesn't need to be super upbeat. The slower tempo and 6/8 time give the song a mid-tempo yet still upbeat feeling, as do the strings, heard notably on the bridge and outro. Lavigne may not belt here as much as she did on her heaviest songs like Losing Grip or Don't Tell Me, but she can pull off sounding soft or loud when when she needs to, and this song balances out the harder and softer elements really well. Although some songs I loved as a kid haven't held up as well listening to them as an adult with a critical eye. Again, Kid Simeon didn't have very good taste in music. I'm happy to say that Keep Holding On is a song that I still love all these years later. Heck, this might just be Avril Lavigne's best hit song. I'll certainly keep holding on to it.
I'm going home to the place where I belong.
Yup, Daughtry's got a double appearance on my best hit songs of 2007 list. Although it would have been a triple appearance if Over You had also made the 2007 year and Hot 100 list, but I digress. So, what makes Home even better than It's Not Over? Well, as awesome as the post-grunge sound of It's Not Over is, I think the less heavy pop rock sound of Home sounds better. It's going for more of a mid-tempo, gentler sort of sound. It's still a pop rock sound to be sure, just not nearly as heavy as those guitars we heard on the band's previous hit. I definitely like this song instrumentally more than It's Not Over. It sounds very nice, and it's definitely trying to give more of a spotlight to the vocals. Speaking of which, Chris Daughtry once again sounds great here. He doesn't belt here, but he really does bring out his American Idol side as he sings about how he just wants to go home. Lyrically, it reminds me a bit of 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton. And while it's not quite as good as that song, the emotion pulled off here is very similar. The song gives off a very homesick feeling, and that feeling is especially relatable when you consider the fact that Chris Daughtry wrote the song about how he felt regarding being famous, and how, while he doesn't regret the life of touring and performing that he chose for himself, the places he's been to and faces he's seen are getting old. He's not running from his current lifestyle, he just wants a break from it. Being at home may not be perfect, but it's ultimately the place where he feels like he belongs and where his partner's love has always been enough. Their love remains true, and they always give him another try. Feeling good at home doesn't cost a thing, unlike being on the road, where happiness is ultimately fleeting. He also says in the chorus, be careful what you wish for, cause you just might get it all, and then some you don't want. Chris Daughtry got what he wished for, a life of being a rock star and being nationally known. He doesn't regret his wish overall, but even he can admit that there are some negative aspects to it. Sure, it may be great being a celebrity and making buckets of money, but money can't buy you happiness. If he wants that, he has to go back to the place he feels home at. There is that singer-songwriter side to this song that really makes sense for an American Idol contestant to perform. It's a deep song lyrically, and one that does give off that timeless message of being careful what you wish for. Another great Daughtry song, and again, this still isn't the last time I'll be talking about Daughtry in the series, so stay tuned. I think some of you knew this was going to be here. This is my 5th time talking about a Linkin Park song in this series. I think it's pretty obvious that I love this band. So why wouldn't I put What I've Done on my top 10 best songs of 2007 list? It's yet another rocking tune from one of the most iconic bands of the 21st century. It starts off with that short guitar bit before we have a soft piano tune. Then the drums come in, followed by the heavier guitars, which just come right in almost abruptly and make the song sound much more impactful. Yet it never sounds jarring. The song is a bit on the softer side as far as Linkin Park songs go. You don't get the same seething intensity and emotion as from songs like One Step Closer, Crawling, or Numb, but yet it still doesn't feel out of place in the band's discography. At least we get heavy guitars here at all, unlike their previous hit Breaking the Habit. Given that this is a song made for the Transformers movie, I guess they had to tone down the volume a bit, given this is a song in a movie made for a general audience. But that's not to say the song doesn't have any emotion. While you won't hear any screaming from the late Chester Bennington, his vocals still fit a more mainstream rock style like this one. There is a hint of sadness in his voice, especially on the verses. And given this is a song about having regret for lying, wanting to start a new slate, and trying not to end things on a bad note, it fits really well. It's not the type of emotion you typically hear from Linkin Park. It's a feeling of shame and regret, not anguish. But again, it doesn't sound all that out of place from them. And as someone with a Christian upbringing, the title lyric about wanting mercy to wash away what you've done is really relatable to me. Even if you're not religious, I think most people can relate to the feeling of acknowledging the bad you've done in your past, but wanting to put your past behind you and starting anew. And of course, the catching melody that Linkin Park always include in their songs, even the most heavy songs, is still here. I'll admit the first song made for the soundtrack of a sci-fi action film, it doesn't capture that atmosphere quite as well as it could. Although Linkin Park would have a second go there for the next Transformers film, which I'll get to in a future video in the series. On its own though, What I've Done is a great song, and yet another fantastic addition to Linkin Park's discography. You wanna know what these guys have done? They made the 3rd best hit song of the year. Awesome job, guys.
He's the reason for the teardrops on my guitar.
We're not done riding the nostalgia train just yet. Here's yet another song I grew up listening to. My family actually owned Taylor Swift's self-titled debut album on CD. I'm very familiar with that album. I've heard every single track on the album numerous times throughout my childhood. I'm very familiar with Taylor Swift's early discography, mostly thanks to my sister being such a big fan of Swift, primarily when her music was still country. And there's some really good songs from her first 2 albums, and not just the singles. However, this particular song is a single, and it's Taylor Swift's first ever year-end hit, Teardrops on My Guitar. I'll admit that nostalgia is a factor in my bias for this pick, pick, let alone it being this high up on the list. However, I can't help but absolutely love this song. It's a fantastic country ballad thanks to the gentle guitar, pedal steel, harmonization on the chorus and second verse, and lyrics about unrequited love. The instrumentation not only gives it that country twang, but also gives the song a small feeling of forlornness to it. It's not depressing or dour though. The major key sound and soft instrumentation make it feel very tender, and that fits with how Taylor Swift feels, singing about a boy she has a crush on, but he has no idea. And she doesn't tell him because this boy already has a girlfriend. She feels nervous around him, faking a smile so he won't see, and wondering if he knows how she feels about him deep down. But instead of trying to convince him to dump his girlfriend and be with her, she simply says that she bets his girlfriend is beautiful, and that she better give him all her love, and know she's lucky. Taylor Swift, meanwhile, keeps playing her guitar and singing about him, hence the teardrops on her guitar. She never comes across as jealous. She accepts that she's never going to be with him, and she sounds sympathetic, and that male voice harmonizing behind her sounds beautiful. It's worth noting that there are a few different versions of this song. On the original version, verse 1 had the line, "I laugh cause it's so damn funny," though it was later changed to, "I laugh cause it's just so funny." Also, the radio single remix and pop versions do change the instrumentation a bit, most notably by adding drum beats. However, the original version is the best, and is the version I'm judging for this list. Have a listen to that version specifically. All in all, it's a fantastic song, and is a very good contender for Taylor Swift's best hit song ever. No, really. Originally, this song was my pick for number 1 on this list. However, I decided there was another song that debuted on the 2007 year-end list that was better. But before I talk about that song, let's go through a few honorable mentions.
Do you feel like a man when you push her around?
Many of my best hit songs lists have this song was originally at the bottom of the list, but upon re-listening to all my contenders, it was just squeezed out of the top 10, but it would have been number 11. And this is 2007's song in that category. Face Down is an awesome punk rock tune with the rocking electric guitars and decently catchy melody, and the lyrics about a woman who's in an abusive relationship and asking her abuser if he feels right doing what he does, that all of his actions will have consequences, and that one day she'll finally stand up for herself and decide she's done being a domestic abuse victim are quite unusual for a mainstream hit. But it's very cathartic, and the punk instrumentation really fits the emotion. Good song.
So baby, I will wait for you, cause I don't know what else I can do.
Chris Daughtry isn't the only 2006 American Idol contestant I'm talking about in this video. Elliot Yamin, while he didn't have quite as huge of a music career as Daughtry, still managed to give us one Billboard year-end hit with Wait For You. This is yet another song I heard as a kid and have nostalgia for. It's a really heartfelt piano ballad about not being able to move on from past relationship and deciding to wait for them to come back. Maybe it's a bit mopey, and the lyrics can be interpreted as slightly manipulative, but I don't mind it. Plus the melody is pleasant, even if it does rip off Never Had Dream Come True, and Yamin, being an American Idol contestant, is a great singer. I'll wait for this song to play.
Darkness turns to light, it ends tonight.
I was originally going to have this honorable mention slot go to Because of You by Neo, but after listening to this song, I decided it deserved him more. And I have a feeling sometime after this video goes up, I'll decide that actually, this song is good enough to be on the list proper. Even still, I don't think It Ends Tonight is quite as good as the previous 2 hits by the All-American Rejects that I talked about in the 2006 video, but still a very good piano power ballad thanks to its great crescendo and lyrics about how this relationship is ending tonight, and how it's better for both you and your partner. But yet it's not dismissive or angry, it's too late to fight, and it's for the better that the two of you go your separate ways now. Good song.
It's time to be a big girl now, and big girls don't cry.
I used to love Fergie a lot more when I was a kid, especially from listening to her songs through those Club Penguin music videos. I'll admit now as an adult, most of her songs aren't nearly as good as I remember. However, one song of hers that does still hold up nearly 20 years later is Big Girls Don't Cry. It's a pretty good pop ballad about having that longing feeling of missing your ex-partner who's leaving, but still trying to not be too emotional. It's time to be a big girl, and big girls don't cry. You need to get a move on with your life and straighten out your personal issues. All the childish references in the lyrics, but still acknowledging you need to grow up, give it a feeling of maturity. I personally enjoy this song.
Probably do forget yesterday. We'll make the great escape.
And here's another song I grew up listening to from an album we actually owned on CD. Boys Like Girls is another pop-punk/pop rock band that was at the height of their popularity in the mid to late 2000s. And here we have their first year-end hit, The Great Escape. While it's not the best song I've heard from them, I'll be talking about that song later in this series, it's still a super fun song about finally being free from parental authority, but deciding to have one more night of partying and going out on the town before moving out, disregarding what your parents say, letting loose, and never looking back. Maybe it's irresponsible, but how can you hate it when it's so upbeat and jovial? Not quite great, but still very good. And that's 5 honorable mentions, but I'm not quite ready to move on to number 1 just yet. Let's talk about another 5 songs first. These are ineligible honorable mentions. Songs that didn't end up making the 2007 year-end Hot 100 list, but would have made my top 10 if they had, because they're really good songs that were popular or released in 2007. Let's talk about these 5 underrated gems.
If you really got into me, you know you're being insatiable.
A little heads up, a lot of my ineligible honorable mentions from this point on in the series are going to be songs that were popular in Canada but never in America. And here's our first example of such, Insatiable, the debut single from Elisa Estrada, whom I talked about another song by in my Canadian songs video. Insatiable is an upbeat funk/electropop bop, thanks to the infectiously catchy melody, Estrada's expressive vocals, and lyrics about how there's more to her than just her good looks, and how her partner will be insatiable if he sees what else she has to offer. Beauty's more than skin deep, it really fits with the rest of the female pop songs from around this time. This song makes me insatiable.
Don't know me, you don't even care.
Here's another piano ballad, and another song I remember hearing a few times as a kid, though not as much as It Ends Tonight. But I actually like this song more than It Ends Tonight. It's got a more memorable piano melody and some more interesting lyrics about a depressed person claiming that no one understands how they feel and decides to move from California to Boston to start a new life where no one knows about their past. Being able to do things all over and have a fresh start is something many people can relate to for various reasons, whether it's bad memories or wanting a new opportunity. Plus, the crescendo and electric guitar solo sound great and get the song more swell. Check the song out.
I look after you.
I have no idea why this song wasn't a hit. Over My Head, Cable Car, and How to Save a Life were both hits, so why wasn't Look After You? It's another really good song by The Fray. I think the melody here is even better than on their two previous hits, both the piano melody and sung melody by Isaac Slade, and the touches of strings also sound really nice. Maybe lyrically, it's not super interesting. It's a love song about telling your crush to be with you before they leave, and assuring them that you'll look after them, but it still sounds very nice, and apparently, it was written by Isaac Slade's then girlfriend and future wife, and the crush does agree to be with the protagonist and look after them in turn. Check this out.
I'll wait for you like in 68.
I was originally going to put Thinking About You by Norah Jones in this slot, but this is yet another song that, as soon as I heard it, I just knew I had to talk about here instead. It's a song about a man who's trying to get home to see his wife. All the flights are cancelled, so he has to rent a car and drive home through the snow. His wife says over the phone that she'll wait for him, just like how she waited till he got home to unwrap Christmas presents, or when their son was due. And when he finally gets home, he finds out she's passed on, but left a note saying she'll wait for him at Heaven's Gate. And the key change and fiddles really helped make it a tearjerker. Again, thank you to my friend Halston for introducing me to this song.
Mr. Blue, I told you that I love you, please believe me.
Those of you who are fans of BoJack Horseman probably know this as a song that was played during the final scene of the final episode. And without spoiling anything, it's a very fitting song for the final scene, and a tremendous send-off to one of Netflix's most beloved and critically acclaimed shows. This is a song about telling your depressed partner that you have to leave, but to not be mad or too sad about that. Sometimes these things happen. You still love them all the same. And the instrumentation that starts off with the light piano, before adding in the acoustic guitar, and eventually the trumpet sounds great, building to a crescendo that still sounds soft. It's uplifting but tender, and sure to make you feel less blue. Either of those last two ineligible honorable mentions would have been number one on this list if one of them had made the 2007 year on Hot 100 list. But since they didn't, let's talk about the song that's actually number one on this list and is the best hit song of 2007. So, 2007 is the first year in the series where I was planning on putting a different song in number one, but after re-listening to my number two and number one songs back to back, I decided to switch their positions. Yeah, Teardrops on My Guitar was originally going to be number one, but in hindsight, I'm glad I decided to go with this song instead. Welcome to the Black Parade is the only top 10 song and year-end hit by emo/punk rock band My Chemical Romance, peaking at number 9 on the Hot 100 in early 2007. Now, I'll be honest, I wouldn't consider myself to be a fan of this band. I know they had a huge fan base in the mid-2000s and early 2010s, and even after their initial breakup in 2013, their fan base has stayed pretty steadfast, but I never really got into their music. The only other My Chemical Romance song I've heard is Teenagers, which is from the same album as this song. And I might make some people angry by saying this, but upon reevaluation, Teenagers hasn't really held up, and I'm definitely glad that wasn't the song of theirs to make the 2007 year-end list. But if it wasn't obvious from the fact that this is number one, I'm very glad that Welcome to the Black Parade did make the list. And I'm also glad that it's the band's most successful song they've ever put out because it is freaking awesome. It's one of those songs that just sounds so grand and epic and feels specifically designed to be acclaimed by critics. And it seems to have worked. I'm willing to bet a few of you correctly predicted this would be my number one. From start to finish, Welcome to the Black Parade is an absolute banger. It starts off small with those piano keys at the onset, but then the snare drums come in and you can sense that the song is about to have an explosion in volume. It really makes the song sound like you're in a marching band Bandit Parade, which fits both the song's title and lyrics about the protagonist's father taking him to the city to see a metaphorical marching band. You can definitely tell they were trying to go for that sound, and they definitely pulled it off. And then we get the electric guitar and singing that sounds akin to a group of people chanting. And this is just the intro. The first verse doesn't even start until about 2 minutes into the song. Right before the first verse hits, the tempo speeds up and the snare drums are replaced with a typical drum set, and it starts to sound more like a typical mainstream rock song from around this time period. And although the marching band sound is minimized here, its fast tempo and upbeat sound still make you feel like standing up and moving. Then on the bridge, the tempo slows down a bit, though it's still faster than the intro, and it brings back that marching band feel in the instrumentation. Then we get the key change and the epic electric guitar, along with Gerard Way belting even more, including on the final chorus, speeding up the tempo again, and then slows down again as the bridge repeats once more. And as the volume softens at the end, we hear some snare drums over the outro and one hit of a timpani drum to close out the song. From start to finish, the song just has so much grandeur. It really does get the feeling of marching in a marching band or parade. The song strays away from the typical pop song structure, yet not so much that it breaks the formula or feels totally alien to pop listeners. It's still got verses, a chorus, and a bridge, but the changes in tempo and intro and outro make it stand out from the rest of what the radio was playing in 2007. It almost feels like a 2000s version of Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's another over 5 minute long song by a rock band that builds up so much swell, it almost feels like multiple songs put together. Yet each different part of the song, while sounding somewhat distinct from each other, still flows into the next part. It's not like a mainstream trap song with a beat switch, where the parts before and after the beat switch feel disjointed, like they're two separate songs. All the parts just come together so seamlessly to make an absolutely fantastic song. And while Welcome to the Black Parade obviously doesn't have the same iconic legendary status that Bohemian Rhapsody does, and it could be argued that it's not even the most critically acclaimed hit song of the 2000s, or even 2007, it really does feel like it's trying to recapture that same timeless classic song feeling. This song hits for me the same way that I know Wake Me Up When September Ends by Green Day hit for many other people. It's just a gripping, awe-inspiring emo/punk rock tune, and one that I can't help but absolutely love and sing praise for. And given this is a song about overcoming your inner demons, being the savior for those who have been beaten and broken, and carrying on the memory of those who are now gone, it makes sense for the song to sound so huge and triumphant. Even when the world feels cruel and your dreams have shattered, be loud, be defiant. Even when you're no longer marching in the Black Parade, your widow will march in your place, just like how you're marching in your father's place. Your father is the one who inspired you to march in this parade in the first place in the song's intro. So stand up and march. Don't let the darkness of the world discourage you. Keep on marching in the Black Parade, because even if you don't make it to the very end, this parade will emerge victorious. But you need to inspire others to march along and defeat the darkness. This song inspired me, alright. In fact, I'm inspired to call this the #1 best hit song of 2007. Absolutely phenomenal song. My memory of it will carry on. And that's the top 10 best songs of 2007. As always, thanks so much for watching. Once again, go watch my chat with Chris Hendricks, aka Screen Hog, if you haven't yet. And hopefully the fact that you got 2 videos today will hold you over until I put out the best hit songs of 2008 video. Stay tuned for that and take care.